Okay, so some important things to animate based off of Travis Nielsen's CSS animation series. It will be a little different, of course, like I said, but there's that. So, is it 6? Oh, it is just 6. Okay, let's go back and do that. 6 important things to animate. All right, let's link to our CSS. So, oops, link. Style sheet. Oh, so here's the thing. When you first do your link, when you write your link and you hit tab, and you see how style sheet is highlighted and your cursor's right there? If you hit tab, oops, or not, okay, this worked a second ago. Yeah, if you hit tab and shift tab, that will take you back and forth between those two options. So if you want to change them really easily, instead of using your arrow key and hitting it like 7 times to get it over there, or even bring, God forbid, bring your mouse into it or something. You're in a text editor, don't use your mouse. Just use keyboard shortcuts. That's a joke, but Amanda gets it, she's laughing. All right, so we're gonna back out of the pages folder, we're gonna go into CSS, and then we're going to load anims.css, okay? I still want my fonty fonts, so let's go here. Let's link to our fonts. I'm gonna load that after my CSS. Oh, that's the icons, okay. I don't think we're gonna use any icons, so I'm not gonna load that. Make sure your indentation is all correct, everything is lining up the way you want it to, just the usual kinds of things. Let's close that one. All right, so the first thing we're going to do is the orientation box. So I'm going to create a overall parent class for everything to live inside of that will give me my margins and move everything into the middle the way I want it. All right, just the normal kind of setup. So I'm just going to call it section. I was trying to think of something funny, but that's all I could think of. Section class everything. So this will have everything inside of it. This is what I usually call like content or something, but I'm in a mood today, so section class everything. Then inside of this, let's call our first one an article. This will be orientation, so I'm going to just call it important, class ort, and let's take a look at it. So it's a box. I was wondering if I could make this change view full page. There we go. Just want to look at it. So just have a big box. It looks like it's about 100% of the width. It's got a border. Inside of that is another group of these thingies. Inside of that is a group of text that has a bottom border. And then as a sibling to that will be this box here. That is a field, an input field with a button underneath it. So let's take a look at exactly how he did that. That's the menu, slides, okay. So he's got a blurb, orientation, answers the questions. So that's his blurb. Example, this belt is button, input, okay, so the input's really simple, the button is really simple. And then it animates, hey, you made it. Is your cat okay?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's not asthma, but that's good.
Yeah, but
She just had like a very sensitive stomach.
Oh, okay.
Gave her some medicine and some different dietary changes.
Okay.
Nothing too tragic.
Good. All right. Well, all that got into the recording for the video, so. So there's a state 1 and a state 2. The first state is, we can see up here, state 1, and then state 2, and just toggling back and forth between the buttons is what does that. Now, probably, yeah, example 1. So he's handling all of that toggling with this little bit of jQuery. Unfortunately, I really don't want to get into jQuery for you guys. I keep saying that because I'm trying to talk myself into not throwing jQuery at you. It does open up a world of possibilities, but it's a little too much, I think, at this point for all of us. So we're not gonna do that slide, or at least we're gonna do this just that little pop up there, all right? Which I know is kind of taking some of the fun part out because that slide is kind of neat. We could have the slide maybe. We could delay it. We could do the pop up over hover and then have the slide happen, that kind of a thing. Unfortunately, you just can't do trigger events with CSS right now. Unless they've changed that. We'll Google that and we'll figure that out. If we can do a trigger event, then we'll do it and we'll make it work without some jQuery. But it is a really simple piece of jQuery. You could just copy it as long as all your class names are the same. So we'll see. We'll play around. I don't know. This is baby sign language for we're all done, by the way. So if you see me do this, that's like me in my head going, okay, we're done. Let's move on. All my kids do baby sign language, and then my daughter's learning ASL right now because they do it at her school. And so she comes home, and there's times when she just signs at me, and I'm like, I don't know what you're saying. So I'm trying to learn it too at the same time. So it pops into my what I'm doing all the time. It's like when I was traveling, I was in a bar and it was really loud, and I asked a friend if she wanted water, and I went like this, which is the sign language for water, because it's a W, and you tap your chin, and you're just like, water. You want water? And I didn't even say it. I was just like that, and she was like, what do you want? What are you asking me? Because that's what I do with my kids. Like, they're across the room, and I'll be like, or I'll go like this, and that means you have to go potty, that kind of a thing. Important things to know as a parent. And which is also in the video now, so yeah. Okay, so yeah, let's go back and just look at our structure here really quick. So that's all pretty simple. The blurb, the slide, title, the subtitle. Strong. See, he just sometimes the way he does HTML kills me. Strong just is bold. It's doing this right here. It's HTML styling, and don't do that. Don't do that anymore. You can tell he's been like writing HTML for a really long time because he does that. It was a habit I had to break too. I used to use like I's and strong and M's and breaks and tables. Oh God. We talked about Dr. Reed's website in here, haven't we? Yeah. Okay.
Would you just do like spans and then change them through CSS to analyze them?
You could. I also don't like using spans.
What do you recommend?
Just divs. Divs are totally fine. I mean, there's no point, right? Some of that stuff is good if your bandwidth is extremely limited and you don't load CSS. But the percentage of people that don't load CSS is like minuscule. And bandwidth is high enough in the majority of places that is not an issue. It's really just to make sure that the page has some styling independent of the CSS file in case the CSS file doesn't load. So, all right, so we have two states, and then we're transitioning between the two states. I don't know why he called this a belt. I'm just trying to think of what that is. Why would he call it a belt? I don't know. Div class belt. It's very weird. Blurb, an example. Okay, so it's pretty much what I was thinking. Overall parent. This stuff is all grouped together. This is all grouped together. So we'll style it first, and then we'll figure out the transition after that. So I guess what's an article? It's just a HTML5 semantic container. It's a div. It's a div. No. In the very beginning, I talked about a bunch of semantic elements that you'll see that became active when HTML5 went live. Sections, one of those. Articles, one of those. Nav is one of those. They're just divs. They don't do anything special, right? It just saves you from having to call something div class nav, div class article, div class section. I could just make it a div. It doesn't, whatever.
Doesn't that also help with simulators?
Yeah, it will. Okay, so let's do the box. Let's do the text. What is he calling his? Why would he do that? Oh, that's the second one. Okay, I'm just gonna collapse the rest of these so I can kind of keep it in my brain. Slide 6. Name orientation. Okay. Okay, we'll also give this class slide because we're going to do some common styling with slides. All right, so actually blurb is a pretty good name, so we'll just use that. And then that's what, H2? See, and he's not, yeah, that's good. He's just doing divs for the text. He's not trying to style them with anything specific. So div class title, oops, yeah, where that gets a little weird. Yeah, okay. So this is when it, like, if it conflicts with Emmet, it's probably a good idea not to call it that. So let's go main title, orientation, div class subtitle, answers the question, where am I now? Now, so this is one of those instances where him using strong is actually smart because we have one line of text here and we only want part of it to be emphasized. And doing that in CSS either means that you need to break it out into its own element and then use flex on the group in order to get it horizontal, or you can just stick a strong in there. So this is the only time where you will see me do this. It does make sense. Yeah, it does make sense. The other thing you could do is you could like count characters and then style it that way, but that's just, it's too much. It's too much. Okay, all right. So it's gonna be at the end of this box that we stick this border, and we'll just add some padding underneath our subtitle, but we'll get there in a second. So then we need div, we'll call it example. Inside this, so div example will be the purple box, and what is just belt. Oh, that's why he calls it, because it's two slides next to each other and you're just transitioning. You're hiding your. So what he's doing with that animation, like when you click on next here, that sliding and that moving, what's probably happening, and I haven't looked at how he's made his animation yet, is what's probably happening is that he draws the two slides next to each other, and then for this box, he has overflow hidden, right? So that hides this back box, right? So essentially, it's like I'm trying to think. I wish I had somewhere else to draw besides the one that's underneath it, because then I have to turn it off. Yeah. Okay. So when you're animating CSS, you're thinking about keyframes. So you need to think about like where you want to start and where you want to end. We need to get like a soft ball or something. Yeah. I was watching it and I was just like, that's good. That frequency is going to increase. Amplitude. Okay. All right. So you have to think about where you want to, where you're starting. So we're going to start with a box that looks like this, a green box, input, and a button, right? That's your button. And then we want to transition to a red box. It's the same size. It just has a button that says back. Okay. And what we're doing in here is we're setting up we draw this whole thing out. We keyframe the position it's in right now, and the way that he's done it, I'm assuming, I'm assuming the way that he's done it is that this, but all we see is what's in the blue, right? That's our little window onto this div because there's a setting you can set called overflow. Okay, and overflow controls what's rendered outside of a parent, essentially. So if you have something like these two slides that are bigger than its parent, normally they would be if overflow is not set, the default is just default, which means show. So it will render these two out, especially if what he's probably doing is setting their position absolutely. Okay, so he can control how they move. Right. So that would show us both of these slides side by side. But that's obviously not what we want. So we set overflow to hidden, and that lets us only see what's inside the blue box instead of seeing both the green and red slides. The red slide is still there, it's being drawn, it's just not being shown to us. Okay, it's being loaded essentially, it's just not being shown by the browser. So when he's animating, he's probably toggling these settings. The first setting he's toggling, okay, you start from a default state, and then you have your end state settings, and you're just controlling that transition. Okay, you're controlling the speed of that transition. You're controlling the easing. Does anybody know what easing is? In animation, and this applies to all kinds of animation. Right? Anytime you try to animate, regardless of the context of your animation, easing is controlling the speed of the transition. So how you get from keyframe A to B and back. Okay. Just controlling the speeding characteristics of that. So usually what it means is we have a graph of time and change. All right. And say that, I'll color code it. So we start off here, and we want to end up here, because this would be 100% change at the end of our time domain. This is 0% change at the beginning of our time domain. Does that make sense? Time domain just being the amount of time we have for this transition. Be it 1 second, 2 seconds, whatever, right? 1 second, percentage change. All right. So to get from here, the green slide here to the red slide there, when you start off, you're gonna start off with a linear. Orange. We're gonna start off with a linear change, which just means constant change over time. Okay. For every millisecond or every little notch of time, you're changing the exact same amount each time. Does that make sense? So if you're changing like every millisecond, then you're changing 5% every millisecond until you get to the end. Clear? This is linear because it's a line, straight line, right? Linear change. All right, so that's your first one. Then you have something called ease out. Is your second one, all right? And what ease out means, do you want to take a guess? It's pretty semantic. Amanda?
The way that it goes to the end.
And what now?
The way that it ends.
Ease out. That's the way it starts.
Oh.
Ease in would be the way it ends, because you're easing out from the towards the change. You're easing out from the starting position. Although I guess easing in would be you're going towards the ending position, because you're always moving from the start to the end. Okay. So ease out goes really slow. You're easing out, and then there's lots of change right at the end. Okay. That's not perfect. But usually what it means is for the first half, actually that's really terrible. For the first half, you have almost imperceptible change and then lots of change over the second half, right? The steeper the curve, the more change you have in a short amount of time. The shallower the curve, the less change you have. Because remember, this is your percentage of change right here. So really, we're only changing maybe like 10% over the first 50% of the time domain, first half of the second. Does that make sense? Okay. Ease in is then the opposite of that. Lots of change at the beginning, not a lot of change at the end. So it goes really fast at the beginning and then slows down as it goes into the change. Whereas ease out goes really slow at the beginning and then really fast at the end. Does that make sense? Yeah. Okay. Then your third one, so that's ease out, or sorry, your fourth one, ease in. Your fourth one combines these. You'll see this called a couple different things, easy ease, which I really like because I think it's like a rapper name. Ease, kind of be called easy ease. Wouldn't that be funny if you had a rapper that did a lot of animation and called himself easy ease? I would die. I'd buy all his albums in his animations. And then ease in out. Ease in and out. Ease in and out is what you usually see it referred to. Easy ease is just, that's money right there. That's gold, just in the waiting. Become a rapper that does animations, and you're set, right? Expect one of you. Totally. I don't know. But so what easy ease looks like is just an S, kind of a shallow S, because it goes really slow. Most of the change happens at the 50% mark. Look how much change is happening right there, and then eases in, so it's slow after that. So between like 40 and 60%, that 20% is where all your change happens. It's like 80% of your change right there. Does that make sense to everybody? Yeah? All right, so that's easing, and that's an important concept to keep in mind while we're doing animations, because this is what makes things feel real, like they have weight. Right? Something else that we do with easing is we blow past this 100% mark and then come back to it. And that's what gives you the bounce. Because if you think about a bounce, like if something bounces, right, it goes like this, and then just kind of settles, right? Very rarely will you have something just go and then stop. That feels like it has no weight, no momentum, right? It's got to go past a little bit and then come back a little bit. Like if my endpoint is here, it's going to go like a spring, right? That's what makes things feel like they have weight and momentum. That sort of like force. Like think about when you catch a ball or something. You don't just hold your hand up because that hurts, right? You don't just hold your hand up and get the ball. You hold it and then you kind of move your whole body. Your whole body absorbs that impact. So there's an acknowledgement of its velocity and its momentum and its mass. Okay. When we're faking it, you have to fake it like we want it to happen, right? So we fake it to make it look real. If you want people to believe your lie, you make it sound really, really good. And you put a little bit of truth in there, you make it seem real, right? So we're lying about this thing being real, and we're just going to make it look like it's real. So what he's doing is he's changing, like making this disappear. He's essentially saying scale down to 0, which is what gives you that weird, and then add some perspective, which is what gives you that weird perspective thing. And then as it scales down to 0, this one is moving to the left. It's just transitioning that left position at the same rate, but that one is scaling, so it looks like they're stuck together. Does that make sense? Scaling and transforming. There's a 3D transformation thing applied too. Yeah, so this one's pretty simple, but it all has to do with like the complicated part is just easing. It's not that complicated. Right. So a lot of times on the graph, when you blow past it, what's going to happen is like you'll do, you might do something like that, and then come back and then even like that. So it'll be a little like you'll get there before, and then like your whatever oscillation you have just gets less until you get to that point. So if you think your 100% change is like that, the point you want to end at is right there, but you can go past it, you can go up, and that's what it'll look like on a graph. Okay. We'll get there. We're gonna do it in a second. So. Hope you got all that. Let's turn that back on. I don't know if this picked up on that explanation, but he talks about it in his videos and animation, so it's there. All right, projector on. Good. Okay. So yeah, so we'll see if we can figure out how to do it a quick event or like get this to activate without any jQuery, then we'll do that. But otherwise, we're just going to do the button pop up. So examples. So we'll do state one. Okay. So we'll go ahead and we'll build it in there, but I don't know if we're going to do them. State one input. Values. Name. And then button. Just next. Capitalized. I don't know. It doesn't really matter. Yeah, it is capitalized. Okay. So that should be pretty easy to do from here now. So then state two, which I, again, don't know that we're going to get to, is just a button that says back. All right. Yeah. Let's call this back. Oops. I'm going to call this next. Okay. All right, so that's all we need for that right now. And let's make it look like it should. So let's go section class everything. Oops. God damn it, why did I do that? That was dumb. Everything. There we go. So this is again going to have the width of I don't know. What did it look like you had? I don't know. That looks like 80% probably. Seems a little big, but we'll start off with we'll do 70%. Margin. This is just the normal stuff. Top 0, auto to get it to position correctly. We actually might put a little bit of margin at the top. So let's go like 3 rounds. And 0 for the bottom and auto for right and left. Okay, this is just to move it down from the top a little bit. Oh, you know what? No, not on this one. My bad. I was thinking of something else. Okay, that one can just be that. Then orientation and slides. So got to think about what things are going to be specific to the orientation one and which one's going to be specific to the slide. So I think we'll just call it slide and we'll go slide 1 just like he did. Right now, I don't see anything that makes slide 1 really important. Intro. Yes, slides. Slide, yep. Slide nth child. Oh, I got it. He's just changing. He's doing nth child to change colors. Actually, that's not a bad idea. We haven't really done any much nth child stuff, so we can do that too. If you guys want. I don't know. I still don't see why he's using slide 1. There's like no reason that I see. I don't see where he's doing slide 1 at all. So he put a class name in that he's not using, unless it's like down here somewhere. Nope. Yep, there's no slide 1 in there. So he has a class name he's not using. I don't know. Well, maybe he was gonna color it that way. We'll just do nth child like he's doing. That makes sense. I'm gonna go ahead and take it out, but I'll do that. Okay, so article slide. So this is just like size. So again, this is border, a little bit of padding to push everything in, and then looks like some margin at the bottom, and that's just to give him space right here. Okay, I'm gonna translate all this stuff into rems probably, which I don't know. You can do pixels if you want. Whatever. I said it. Fine. I like pixels. Border. Unless you're doing border. Let's go solid, 4 pixels, and we'll go black. Wait, that's white. No, that's black. All right. I feel like a bunch of my other packages broke. Color picker. What was my... pigments? Huh. I don't know if this is working or not. Oh, it is. Okay, good. So then we'll do padding, 2 rems, which is 32 pixels. And then margin bottom is doing 200, so that's like 10 rems. Okay. So that's all we got to do for that. That should give us the... So if we go ahead and open this and look at it while we're going. So that gives us our box, stretches our box out. Got our questions, that's good. So then the next part, find... Okay, so let's go our blurb. So blurb, blurb, width. I like to define width on these things. I don't know, it helps keep problems from happening. There's not really anything else we need to add to blurb, so maybe let's try it without doing that. So we'll go div class main title first. This is where we would set like font size or font type, so like font family. We could set it on the blurb actually. That would be a good place to put it. That way we're not setting it on everything. Font family, open. Oh, all right, I don't know what that was. Serif. Fonts. We'll do font size in the down here. So main title, we'll do font size first. It's pretty big. Yeah, so there's his border bottom and his padding and his margin. There it is, 64 pixels. Huh, why did he do his letter spacing like that? It spreads it out a little. Interesting. This is just stylistic changes. So that's 4 rems. And we could do, I mean, we could do letter spacing, that's fine. 0.02. Let's go rems. Okay. And let's see, on the blurb, let's do our border bottom. Let's go, is it 4 pixels too? Yeah. Solid, 4 pixels, and black. Oh, it's white. Blurb, we need padding, bottom. Let's just keep it consistent, 2 rems, margin, bottom, 2 rems. That'll give us consistent spacing between this letter and that, so boom. All right, so subtitle, did subtitle, font size, I don't know. Oh, 24 pixels. Okay, so that's 1.5 rems. So font size 1.5 rems. I don't think we're going to do anything with letter spacing. Yeah, so right away, it's already looking pretty good, right? Now we just got to add the colors. I guess I'm not doing color. Let's do color. You can stick with his colors. You can pick your own colors. I don't care. It's up to you. I'm not really a fan of purple. I really like this kind of salmon red stuff, so I do that. All right, so now we need example. So state one. State one is going to be a box. So let's go div.state1. Hey, why did that? Oh, because I'm hitting tab for some reason. So div.state1. Let's see how he did it. State one. All right. Example one, state. Okay. Width is 50. Oh, he said, I got it. I know what he's doing. Oops. Hey, all right. Did I just, no, okay. I closed it for a second. My fingers are stupid today. Belt. There we go. Okay, so you see how he's setting the width of belt to be 200% of its parent, right? And that's blurb for us. What that is doing is it's giving us that room for those two slides that are side by side. I was going to point at the drawing that you can't see that's behind the projection screen right now. We really need... did you guys hear that we're getting like floor to ceiling whiteboards in here eventually, someday in the future? That won't matter to you guys because you won't be here.
Probably.
Yeah. It'll be great for me. It'll probably be after when I get tenure or something. So a year and a half out. But yeah. Woo. I'm excited. So he's using Flex. Look at that. He's got some transitions built in there. Yeah. Yep. Okay, it's pretty much exactly what I thought was happening. Okay, so, and his overflow is set to hidden. Look at that. So with belt, yeah, we can do it. We'll do it. We'll see what happens. We're going to set this to 200, which means that the parent of belt, example one, well, he's setting the width of example to 200. So, sorry, I like to collapse these things just to make sure that we know like what's a parent and what's not. So slide and slide one. Slide doesn't have a width though. Slide one have a width? No, we already figured that out. There's no slide one. That's interesting. Normally that 200% is going to be like based off of something else that we've set already. I mean, slides maybe? No, that's it. That's slides. There's no, max width, 800 pixels. Okay, so he is setting like a max width for it. Okay, that makes sense. But that's the overall parent for all of them. That's the only place width is coming. So each one of those is about 400 pixels. Yeah, all right, we can deal with that. So article class slide, everything. So everything I set to 70% of the window. So it's not explicit, but the slides will be 200% of that, which is fine. That'll work. We are setting, as long as you're setting a width in one of the parents, then this 200% will work. Okay. If you want to have a lot of control over that, it's a good idea to set the immediate parent of state 1, which would be example, right? I would set the width for that to be something specific, right? 100% or whatever. You can set a percentage as long as it's referring to something else up above, right? Section everything is 70% of the body, because the body is the immediate parent of everything. And then it all just sort of trickles down from there. That chain of like parent-child relationships is important, okay, as always in HTML. All right, state 1. Yeah, okay. I'm just trying to think of how I want to do this now. Slide 1, slide 2. It's so weird that he's just doing that. Slide child. Colors. So where's the background color coming from? When in doubt, open your inspector. When your inspector opens like that, pop it out. Oh, sorry. Ah, wrong button. Okay. I have a lot of windows, I'm sorry. Yes, iframe. State 1, 138. No. So it is coming from example 1, state 1. Oh, background right there. Okay. All right. I just wanted to see where he was changing that color, where he was setting that color. It doesn't really matter, I guess, then. So here is fine. Background color. Again, we're going to use this red. Just keep things consistent. All right. Huh. That should have hidden it. Example 1 state. Oh, here we go. That's interesting. Example 1. Belt state. So he's setting the width of that to 50%. Oh. Okay. This example state. Where did the 200% come in? Sorry, I'm having to figure this out. Oh, that's for the parent. Okay. It's from belt. Belt was the parent, which is what example is for me, but he has another class inside of there, doesn't he? Yeah, example, then belt. Okay, I guess if we're going to do it the same, then we better keep a very similar structure. So he's nesting the two different slides in a group called belt, which is then inside of a group called example. And this is just probably to make the hidden overflow stuff work right. But we'll figure that out here in a second. When you're reverse engineering other people's stuff, yeah, okay, it is. That's what's going on. Like, you'll figure out some things that you need to include and some things you don't. So this is where belt is given our 200%, display flex. We can ignore the transition stuff right now. I'm just trying to get things working correctly. Oh wait, did I? Yeah, example. Let's go to example 1. Okay. And then div example 1 overflow. Some of these things are going to be specific to just this first example. All right. Yeah, and then on state is where we have our display flex. Justify content center, align items, center, align items, flex direction column, yep. Column. Okay. Let's see what this did. Yay! Okay, it's pretty much what we want. We just haven't set a height yet. Okay, does that make sense for everybody? Yeah? Okay. If it doesn't make sense, say so, because I'll explain it.
So where is the cancel with 50%?
No, it's a good question. That's what this div belt is doing, because we gave that 200% of its parent, and then with 50% just means half of that 200%. Because you wouldn't put with 100% because you're dealing with percentages, right? So you want to be half of the 200%, so you put 50%. Got to think in terms of the percentages. That's where I was getting confused. And then I thought we could get away with not having belt in there. But you need that intermediate container to define that super long width to then tell the slides on the inside to be half of that super wide width, which makes them fit into everything else, like example 1 and inside that box. All right. That's also where you put the overflow, because that's controlling the visibility of its children. Not on itself, but its children. And that's where I messed up when I was doing it. I thought it was going to do itself. Okay. All right, I got to put height in here as well now too. So with height, trying to think, there's not really a square. Just thinking, the height is always the same, but the width changes. So again, this is an instance where I'm okay if you put pixels in. Man, this is being recorded too. I'm just going to use the same 400 pixels that he's doing. It's not going to change anything. It's fine. It's all going to look the way we want it to. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no. I mean, I was going to use REMs, but yeah. So 400 pixels in REMs would be like, what, 10, 12, 15? 15 REMs? What is 16 times 5? Yep. That was exactly. Nice. Sorry, I'm kind of impressed with myself figuring that out in my head. It's the little things in life, guys. 15 REMs is 400 pixels, so. Or not. What? 15 times 16. Oh, it's 240. Whoops. I was wrong. Yeah, that was nowhere near. It was 225. That's what I was thinking. Yeah, I forgot. Okay. 25. All right. There we go. So, we got our box. So half of, I've spent, what, an hour already just drawing one box out. But now that you have like this done, you can, if we move our color out of here, actually, if we move our color out of here, because all these boxes, well, the boxes are all going to be the same size. They're not all going to have flex and stuff. So one thing you could do is figure out, so this is state 1 that I'm applying this sizing to. So you could give this a generic, I already used slide. Could give this a generic class name and put the width and height inside that class name. and then only have to refer to it once in the CSS. And then in your HTML, give everything that class name. Right? That's an efficiency thing. But if it's easier for you to like keep it straight in your head by writing it out each time for each slide, that's fine too. Just make sure you're using the same values, 50%, 25 rems, to get all the slides to look the same, to have the same structure. So I'll just leave it at that. I'm not going to try to get too complicated with this. All right, so we'll put the color back in there. Okay, now on to the button field. So input placeholder name. Did I use an input? I did, didn't I? Yeah, let's get rid of that stuff. Name. Okay. How much does that change it? All right, cool. And then we're just making the box bigger. Let's find where he put his input styling. So here's his input styling. Example 1 button and example 1 input all have the same width, padding, and no borders and margin. So that's a good thing to do. So we'll go example 1. Sorry, div class example 1. This is going to be inputs, comma, and then div example 1 button. They're all going to have the same width, just 300 pixels, which just use rems if you want. I don't know why it changes the widows. That drives me crazy. 300 pixels is like 8 rems, 8, 6, 2, 4. You can't really, let's go 300 divided by 16. So 18.75. Yeah, that would be right. So 18.75, 19.75 rems. Our height, you can also put in rems. If you wanted, you could do the width in percentages. Actually, that would work really well too. But then the button, it'll change. Like if you don't want that input size to change, like his doesn't change. If you want yours to change, you would do it in percentages. Okay. If you wanted to get narrower instead of getting pushed down the next line. Oh, he doesn't have a height on that. Okay. Padding is 20 pixels. So what is he doing? Font size in there somewhere? He must be. All right, padding. 20 pixels is just 1.25 rems. And then what are we doing? Oh yeah, border none. And margin bottom. 1.5 is close enough. All right, let's see what that looks like. Yay, but for some reason our button is off. Why are you off, button? They have the exact same settings. 340. Where are you getting extra styling from?
No question.
Mm-hmm.
Why would you do the button as button type button instead of input type button? Just button.
I don't know. It's a good question. Button is good to use on its own. The type is kind of just redundant. You don't necessarily have to put in type button. There's some like default styling that happens to it. And then I think for like linking to databases, it matters. But I don't really ever do that. So for me, button's semantic, and I like semantic tags. Oh, when you're doing jQuery, actually, sometimes that's the button feature for clicks. But that works also with just divs. I don't know.
Because I always use input type button, but I used to defaults.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Did someone tell you to change, or did you just
No, I
change?
just
Yeah, I don't know.
changed because like I was performance. It's
I don't know.
I always say like input type, whatever. consistent?
Let's find out. Input type button. So what's the difference? There we go. Button has a lot of issues. You can put HTML into a button. People avoid button because of IE6. How old is this? Question. 9 years, 9 months ago. You can ignore that. You can use buttons now. It's fine. Yeah, this is on Web Archive. I'm not even going to load it. It's old. It's old. So right now what I'm trying to do is figure out the width differences between my input, which is 40 pixels wider than my button. And some of that I think is kind of, ooh, what was that changed up there? Oh, just that. So I have 20 pixels, so I have 40 pixels of padding on my button. For some reason why is my button 260 pixels when I gave them the exact same width? Div example 1 button. So it's looking inside example 1 and then it's looking for a button, an element button. And they both have the same width. So let's see what happens when we explicitly set it to be 300 pixels. If it does the same thing. It did the exact same thing. It's only making that button 260 for some reason. I bet it's because of how padding is being applied to that button. Yeah, it's the way padding gets applied to buttons versus inputs. So that is something that's different. Apparently, with buttons, padding is applied the way it's supposed to be applied, and that's pushing everything inside and not inflating the div at all. Whereas, because with most divs and HTML elements, your div, if you give your div a width, it's going to be that width, and then padding is just going to add on to it, which is going to swell or bloat, however you want to refer to it, depending on your mood. It's going to bloat your, see the mood I'm in now. It's going to bloat your div by the amount of padding that you're giving it. So 20 pixels on either side is going to make it 340, not 300. Whereas with the buttons, it's actually going, oh no. What you're really supposed to do is shrink it by 20 pixels on either side, which makes the div 260 pixels wide. The actual dimensions of the pig 260 instead of 300. So here's an instance where I would use input button instead, just to make sure the styling stays consistent. So that's what we're gonna do. We're gonna change this to input type button. Oops. Oh, that's on my class too. Oops. Input. Oh, I don't need my closing tag. Wait. Now I gotta look it up because it's gonna change how it looks here real quick. Yeah, that's what I thought. Value. Oops. It's the Wild West over here, guys. HTML jokes. Okay, so now our styling is right. And we can go back to using rems if we want. What did I say, 18.75? Ah! What you doing, sucker? Pinwheel, spinning around. Why would you do that? Why would you do that to me? It's just rems. Yeah, I don't know why it's doing that. Did it work? It worked with 300 pixels though. No, it didn't. All right, there's something else going on then, because that I do not get why that is doing that. Let's break it out. This is when you start testing stuff. Like, all right, fine. You can have your own line. Okay. It's just that padding. Wait a second. Oh, they're both inputs. Duh. Okay. Sorry, they're both getting. I was like, why isn't that working? Because they both get their styling from the same place. That's really weird. Without the padding, they're fine. They're the same width. The 288. Wait, they already have. Oh, because you do have padding on you. I bet that padding is coming from. Oh, padding is being applied in very different ways here. Probably for the placeholder. What is he doing? Border none. Did I do border none? I did do border none. I'm sorry, guys. We haven't even gotten to the animation part yet. I mean, none of this is like affecting. Oh, the outline maybe? Let's try that. I don't know, it's very weird. Sorry, normally I wouldn't let this bother me, but it's really kind of starting to bother me. We'll get to animation here in a second. Come here. 300. 300. Sample one button with 300. Display block. No, that's the style sheet. Botto line height. That's fine. Font weight. No. Line center. Transform uppercase. Box shadows. Transitions. No, none of this is. I mean, that border is all that does it a little bit. I don't know. I really don't know why mine's broken and his isn't. Nothing is jumping out at me about this. Center, column. Display flex. Nope. Oh. How did I miss that? Oh, it's a div. It's not actually a button. It's just a div. God. All right, that's what's screwed up about it. All right. Div class button. Nope, thank you. Oops. Putos. We'll call it a butt. This thing's pissing me off, so we're gonna call it a butt. Div class butt. Next. So it's just styling it like a div. I don't know. Maybe he ran into that same problem where the styling wasn't being consistent using an input or a button. Div class butt. With the word next in it. That's all you need. God. See, one little mistake. Example, can't spell the word. Class butt. All right, now they should all have the same styling. Well, they do have the same width and stuff. I just need to give butt its own thing now. I want to say butt as much as I can right now at this point. Actually, maybe div class butthead. There we go. That's better. Gotta have fun with it. As you go crazy. Okay, div class butthead. So let's give it a background color. Why did he do his, like a dark red, I guess, then? I don't know. Maybe a darker blood red. Sorry, my brain just started going into really inappropriate areas. I forget now off the top of my head. Oh, he just made it less transparent. What? Sorry, I'm going through and like looking at this now, trying to decide where that dark color comes from, because all he did was mess with the transparency. Whatever. I'm gonna leave it like that. Font color is white. I know, lots of fun. The demo. I hear the sighs and the groans. Text line, center, text transform, uppercase. This is just to ensure that it stays uppercase. I wrote it as uppercase, but you don't really need it then if it's already set there. Weight. What weights did I bring in? So 700, 400, 700 will be your bold. I think that's, oh yeah, cursor pointer. So actually this is important. So without the cursor being set to a pointer, it'll just be an arrow when we hover over the div. It'll be the cursor arrow. Cursor pointer is the hand, right? And that hand is a visual indication that something is that this is something you can click on. So that's an important reason to change the cursor to be that button, to be a pointer. So you give that visual clue to your user that this is something they can click on. And then we'll do a box shadow. So when you're doing a box shadow, when you see 4 values like this, just keep in mind it's top, right, bottom, left. Like just like padding a margin, always. It starts at the top, follows that clockwise pattern. So we're doing 0 shadow at the top, we're doing shadow on the right and the bottom, and negative shadow on the left, and that makes it look like it's off-centered. So, okay. 0 pixels, 10 pixels, is it 10? Not 15. 15 pixels, 10 pixels, negative 10 pixels. Okay. Oh yeah, color too. And then was it just RGBA? RGBA 0, 0, 0, 0.3. That does transparency. So that's your alpha. Red, green, blue, alpha is what RGBA is, and that's how you handle transparencies on stuff. Okay. Boom. I really don't like that red, so let's try the RGB 0.5. 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0.5. That's okay. And then I guess we need to apparently set the font in here because I set it for the, oh, I set it for the blurb, not for everything else. Okay. We will set it under example 1. Set it under the parent. Open sans serif. You can also come up to the top under your body and set it there too if you want. If you're only going to use one font, or whatever you want your default font to be. Okay, sans serif. Really get rid of those serifs. All right. Cool. These font sizes are a little small. I guess it's fine. It's a little small for the input. So you could come in and say div example 1 input font size there we go, that's better. I might also change it here. Font size 1.5. I like that better. Okay, so we drew a box. Yay! It took an hour and a half to draw our box. Yay! So, you know, you're going to be 9 hours of just drawing, okay, without actually transitions yet. Now, it'll go faster once you have one box done. That's maybe. We'll see. Let's just take a moment. Oh, God. All right, so we're going to do some animation now.
Do you want to do that?
What?
Do you want to do that?
Yeah, I know. At this point, I'm just like, oh, God, okay. So really, we're transitioning to state 2. You can see there's lots of different transitions set up here. I'm just kind of going through and seeing where he started. So the belt has a transition on it, which makes sense. It's a transform transition. So what he's doing is and a lot of these, like you see this like WebKit transform, this is stuff we don't have to really include anymore. So some of these are just really repeating. Yeah, some of this is just like repeating some of the same settings to make sure it works on all browsers. 90% of the browsers out there. Well, so Chrome is 63% of the environment out there. So if it works on Chrome, it's going to work on 63% of the devices out there that are looking at your page. Okay. Safari is like 23%. Firefox is like 18%. What does that get me to? 31. It's like 90. So that's like, we're at 99% at this point, right? And then that other 1% is everything else. All right, Edge included. If that tells you anything. There are more IE users at this point than there are Edge users. I'm just going to throw that out there. There's still like a surprising number of people that use Internet Explorer because there's a lot of old Windows XP and Windows 7 and Windows Vista and shit devices out there. So think servers. People run servers off of that stuff. Anyway, grandmas and their computers. So let's see. I want to make sure that's where our first transition is starting. Yep. Okay. Just so we can kind of understand what's going on. So we're doing a transform, and let's see, where are we transforming to? For transition, transform transition. Where's our actual animation? Sample 1 is transition.belt. Oh, is he adding? I bet he is. Is he adding class names in JS? Yep, he is. Scheiße. Okay. Okay. So what he's doing. Okay, we might have to do some jQuery. Damn it. This is why I wait. We're going to do jQuery. I'm not going to explain exactly what's going on. Well, I will explain what's going on with it. But you don't need to like freak out about it or anything. Just copy exactly what he has here and what I write in the code. He's using jQuery to toggle the class, which you can see here, of example 1. And what that's doing is it's putting this class is transitioned on there because he has this very specific bit of HTML, or I'm sorry, CSS, that is moving. It's translating in the X, so it's moving it horizontally 50%. And this is what's moving us, or negative 50%. This is what's moving the purple slide, you know, this first slide to the next slide. Does that make sense? Okay. So when you set up animations in CSS, you set up the values of what you want to change. In this case, we're changing the transform property. And then you set that up as a separate class. And then generally you toggle that class with jQuery. So you add that class to the HTML using jQuery. It's the only way to do it. And then you control the transition in the original declaration block in the CSS. Does that make sense? Kind of. How that? Let me draw the flow out. Let me build it really quick and then I'll do the flow. Let's do that. Okay, so hey butthead. Did I call it belt? What did I call it? I did call it belt. So let's come up here and I'm gonna keep it all separate instead of trying to dump it into the same one. Button, state 2, state 1, example, state 1, transition. So he's controlling the easing of that transform. And belt is doing also controlling the easing of the transform and the perspective stuff. So that perspective is a little weird, but we'll figure it out. All right, so let's just dump in our transition here. So let's find belt. Yeah, okay. Well, we'll just stick it all in here. So transition. We're going to do transition to transform. 1 second. And we're going to ease it in and out. Okay. Oh yeah, let's do put our perspective up here too. Perspective. Did I stick that on the same thing? Yeah. Perspective 1000 pixels. Perspective. Okay. The next thing that we're going to control transition would be example 1, state 1. Transform origin center right. Yeah. Example 1, state 1. All right, this we're going to need our own thing. Oh, example 1, state 1 right here. So transition, transform, 1 second, and ease in, out. Okay. There's lots of different, like if we look up Mozilla CSS transition, you can list these all out. I did, oh, Moz. Oh no, that was probably good. So you kind of see like initial state, final state, that's what I was talking about. You can list these out separately, like transition property, transition duration, transition timing function, step end, etc. There's lots of them, delays. Or you can write them all together. And when you write them all together, it gets written as property, duration, timing function, then the delay after that. So the delay would be like how long does it wait after you've clicked it in order to do the animation. So property, so what we're transitioning, how long we're going to take, how we're controlling that transition, and whether or not we're delaying. So that's your syntax. All right. Ease in and out, and then this one had what? Transform origin center right. So there's some things that we have to control with transform origin center right. Where it's going to start transitioning. So it's going to start transitioning here. This is where it's going to start. Instead of here or up at top left would be default. Okay. Center right tells it right here. Does that make sense? Because we go down to the center, or we go to the center in the X, and then we go to the right. So we go center, right. All right. Piece it together. Example 1 inputs. Nope. All right, example 1, button. Oh, so this transitioning he's doing on the button, that's that pop-up right here. It's transitioning everything. It's taking 200 milliseconds, and the cubic Bezier is that curve that I was talking about, like being able to adjust that curve. And I will show you a way to, like, in the inspector, to tweak that. So we'll do I'll put a transition on it, and then that'll let us adjust it. So let's find oh yeah, this is under butthead. Transform all 200 milliseconds, and then we'll just do like ease in, out. And then I need to do what, like the hover state then on top of that. And so what's going on with the hover is, see, we've got a transform scale, so we're scaling up 0.5%, and a box shadow. The box shadow is changing a little bit. It's getting a little bigger to adjust for that. Yeah, you can see that box shadow changing too, right? It makes the shadow look bigger because the device is getting bigger, or the object is getting bigger. And then we're going to transition into that. So transform scale, and just give a percentage, 1.05, and then adjust your box shadow. So what is it? 0, 25, 15. Okay. Oh yeah, and the color. Though you really wouldn't have to put this because you've already done it above. It should keep it, but we'll do this. Okay, so right now, if I go back and I reload my page, so I've got that, right? My transition is not, oh, because it's not a cubic Bezier. Okay, so if I want to make it that nice little bounce that he's got here, like that really smooth little bounce, like right now mine is pretty much just changing. I feel like it's not doing my transform for some reason. No, it's doing the transform. Oh, it's not doing the transform. Why are you not doing the transform? Unsupported property value. Oh, transform? No, that's fine. What do you not support about that? Oh, transition transform. Duh, God. Transition, not transform. Okay. Yeah, so that's better. So it's a little smoother now instead of that abrupt, but it still doesn't have the nice bounce that has, right? That bounce is coming from something called a Bezier, which is a Bezier is just a fancy word for a curve. All right, think Illustrator. Those are all Bezier curves, okay? And a Bezier curve is just a type of mathematical curve where you have 2 points in a line, and then you have anchors that come off the points so that you can weight the line in different directions. Think using the pen tool in Illustrator to draw, right? You use that pen tool to draw a curve, 2 points, and then you stretch out an anchor, and that adjusts. That's a Bezier curve, okay? So how we want to adjust that is we can come over here and click on, can we not do it on here? No. Oh. I thought we could do it in here. You can in Chrome. Thought you could do it in here. I wonder if we set it up as transition timing function, cubic Bezier, cubic Bezier, and then, oh man, that's crazy. Okay, well, let's try it in Chrome, because, or maybe Firefox. Let's try Firefox. There's a hands-on tool for adjusting timing functions, and I don't know, I thought Safari Inspector timing functions. Yeah, all right, cool. So Firefox has it. So there's this little icon right here next to the timing function, that little circle, right? Click on that. It gives you an interactive display to play around with the timing function. So let's try backward. Let's bring that up. So you can. This will give you an idea of what the animation is going to do. I'll slow it down a little bit. Okay. And then see, it fills it out right here. It gives you that cubic Bezier with the values, right? Copy that. Jump back over to your code. Paste that in where you had your timing function. Oops, 2 semicolons. All right, reload your page. It's kind of doing it. Let's slow it down so we can kind of see it. It's going really fast. It barely goes past it a little bit. So I'm going to pull it up really high. I want it to jump really, really far past. Yeah, okay. So let's grab that Bezier. And then we'll make it go a little faster again. Broken! I did do 200 seconds, thank you. It's gonna take forever! So it pops up. It's a little bit better. Still a little abrupt. What is his? 253939 2.01. I mean, we could try that. Like, his is a little more even. So I don't know if he... 2531 cancel 3131. Oops. 12. That would really shoot past. 2.05. Is that what it was? 2.01. 5 is fine. Let's try it. Did I save it? Nope. Yeah, I mean it's pretty much the same. But that little bounce, right? That little bounce is coming from that Bezier. Oh, that's what he did. He's not flattening it out. It just jumps out. I had mine flat. Mine was flattened out like that. His is just jumping. So that would be a linear change, and his is actually changing even more than linear and then coming back down. All right, that's the shape of his curve. So Chrome has this as well. Firefox does. I thought Safari did too, but apparently not. No, that's Google. Yeah, I don't know. That's really weird. Maybe I didn't see it, or it's in here somewhere. That, unfortunately, is all the time that we do have for today, though. Unfortunately. So, hey, we got one little animation thing done. We'll pick back up on Wednesday, and I'll animate the slide. All right, show you guys that. Yeah.